Hey guys, it's been over 2 weeks since I posted a video, last shop update. So let's get into another one right now. Welcome to my channel. Again, it's going to be a shop update. I've got, when I left off the last shop update video, I was talking about some things. I'm going to put a link up there to the last shop update. There's some bunch of topics that are going to be discussed in this shop update that were brought up in that one. So if you want to go check out that shop update. But anyways, I'm going to, since my last one, I have made 7 haul trips since then. Some of them have been fairly long, Texas, some of them have been local. So 6 of them have been out of state and 1 local one. But anyways, I'm going to discuss them, and there's only going to be a brief discussion on each one. I'll try and, I didn't really film anything, but I'll try and throw a pick and pick of anything that I'm describing that I had hauled in here. So let's get into it. Okay, let's jump right into it. I told you in the last shop update that I had to make a Texas run, and again, I'm going to put a link up there for the shop update. I told you that I had to make a Texas run. I had to pick up some generators. I did not film any of it. I had to go to Odessa, Texas, kind of in the oil field area of Texas, and pick up these generators at an auction yard. Apparently, the oil industry is depressed right at the moment, and there is a bunch of auction yards down there that have a ton of equipment for sale, and some of it is going fairly cheaply. So again, I didn't film any of it, but I will put a pick and pick over there of the style of generators that I had to pick up. There were 3 of them. Originally, he thought he was going to be able to buy 4 of them, but I'm glad he only got 3 because one of them had a very long tongue on the trailer, and I would have never gotten 4, probably never gotten 4 of the generators on the trailer with that one having the very long tongue on it. So again, a pick and pick of the generator sets over there. The trip was uneventful. Went down there, picked up the generator sets from the auction yard, and came back and delivered them to the guy. At the same time, I had been talking to one of my friends about he had bought something at an auction in Connecticut, and I thought I could intermix that with a trip for another generator to Massachusetts. Well, he had bought the generator in Massachusetts, sent the guy a check, only to find out that the guy that sold him the generator, his brother has sold it to somebody else to begin with. So what happened is that Massachusetts run for the generator got put off, so I went to Connecticut and picked up it's called a curing box. My friend is into concrete testing, concrete asphalt testing, and it's like a big igloo cooler with a heating element in it to keep the concrete samples at a certain temperature. Again, a pick and pick over there of what that unit looked like that I picked up from the auction yard. So I went up to Connecticut and made that one. What I'm also going to do is, again, link to the last video. The last 5 minutes of that video, shop update video, I discussed something, and that is what I discussed is going to be rediscussed at the end of this video because there has been some movement on that issue. I'm also going to throw a couple of things that I was able to get done at the shop, and something else I'm going to be doing here at the shop to my truck I will discuss that. I haven't gotten the unit yet, but I will discuss that. Let me bring you back to the next topic. So one of the things that I did yesterday is I did an oil change on my truck, and it hit exactly on the mileage that it needed to be done at. So I changed the oil, put a new filter on, of course, and fuel filter, water separator type thing. I did not change that fuel filter on the block again. I probably am going to do that before I make another trip, but I just didn't want to get into it yesterday. Again, I really disgusted with that. I don't mind them having two fuel filters, but that fuel filter that's on the block is two things. Hard to change. They made the housing out of plastic. There's a fuel filter insert into it. Let me shut you off and I'll show it to you. So here we are over to the rack where I keep all of my fuel filters and stuff. And of course I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed. Here's a fuel filter that goes in on the block. Now it's encased in a plastic housing, so you have to pull the plastic housing apart. I'm just inserting this little video clip in here just so that you can see what that fuel filter is on the block, and it's that round thing with the hex nut on the top of it down there. Again, it's a little hard to get to. You've got to use a wobble socket to get it on it and get that cover off. And it's got a nut on the top of it. So the top comes off, you pull out the canister, insert the new canister into it. But again, it's a plastic housing. There's like a hex nut on the top of it, like 1 inch or inch and an eighth, maybe it's inch and a quarter. And again, you're on this thing, for some reason that top part always seems to tighten up, whether it's the plastic and the heat from the engine, but it's got an O-ring, so you just seat that O-ring, but by the time that you get around to changing this filter again, that thing is damn tight. But that's not the reason that I don't like to change it. The reason I don't like to change it is damn thing's expensive. I think this filter is like $80 or something. But anyways, let me show you something else. Having stacks on my truck, people always ask me, well, when it rains or it snows, do you get snow and water inside those stacks? And because of the way that they're cut, usually you don't get a lot of water into them. But if you park someplace and you get a driving rain from like the back into it, you get water into it. Now, you don't really get a lot of water into it, but here is the remnants of what happens when that water does get into it. So last night we had this kind of driving rainstorm, and yeah, that black soot comes out and gets all over your truck. Now it washes right off. If it was still raining, so we had this driving rainstorm last night while the truck was parked, and when I went out this morning and started it up, this is what happened. But if it had been still raining, it would have probably washed right off in the rain. But anyways, some people ask about that, and I thought I'd show that. Okay, back to the runs. I told you about the Connecticut run where I picked up that concrete curing box. But so the next run that I did was picking up a generator again. No, I'm sorry. The next run was a local run. I had a steel delivery that I had to make for the guy that I haul steel for to a construction site. It's a construction remodeling site. So there was about 18,000 pounds of steel Again, I didn't take any pictures of it. I've showed you pictures of steel on the trailer before. This was I-beams, angle iron, tube steel. Again, I think it was about 18,000 pounds of steel that I had to deliver to a place about 40 miles west of me. So I did that. Then I had a trip that I had to make to Easton, Pennsylvania. And again, it's another generator. This generator was in a generator house, and I was supposed to take the entire house. And sometimes I do some cool, get into some cool things, but it had nothing to do with that house because I'll explain that. But anyways, I'll put a video of, a picture, pick and pick of the house that I got it. This was an iron oxide plant. And before I went down there, I kind of Google Earthed it because I like to see what I've got to get the trailer into. And it was, when I Google Earthed it, there was a plant, and probably for a block around it, the entire area was red from the iron oxide. But anyways, I got to this plant, and it had been closed, and apparently it had been closed for 2 years. So that kind of goes to show you how often they update Google Earth. So because Google Earth, when I Googled it, showed it as an existing operating plant. But when I got there, they had started tearing it down. And so you get into these messes. I was supposed to go down there and pick this generator up in this housing. Let me bring you back. Sorry, phone call interruption. Anyways, here is a prime example of lack of communication. This generator guy that I was picking this up for, had been talking to the demolition crew office and had made a deal on this generator and everything. I get down there, and the guys that are working at this plant demoing it, it was an older guy that was operating the lull, and man, he just had a terrible attitude. So he, to begin with, the generator house had not been disconnected. There was a canopy off of it. The fuel tank was still hooked up to it. I asked him about that, and he says, oh yeah, we got to demo it, but you're going to have to pay for it. You've got to pay for us loading it on your trailer. So I called up the generator guy, and he says, that's not the deal I made. Let me talk to him. And they talked to him, and then he ended up having to call the office, and it was like all of this time they were trying to disconnect the house from the canopy and the fuel tanks and stuff like that. Make a long story short, they tried to pick this house up and they couldn't do it. They actually got the lull and another forklift on it and couldn't do it. So to make a long story short, they ended up tearing this house apart, this generator house. Now, it looked like, and as you probably saw from the pictures, it almost looked like a cargo container, but it was pre-cargo container era. But the cool thing about this was the generator itself. This generator was a 500 kilowatt generator, and it had a 28-liter Cummins engine powering it. This engine was huge. So what they ended up doing is tearing the house apart and unbolting the generator from the floor of the house and pull the generator out and then put that onto my trailer. But again, this generator was huge. I didn't take any pictures of it, but I will show you pick and pick of the 28-liter Cummins. Now, the 28-liter Cummins, just by itself with dual turbochargers on it, weighed 9,200 pounds. That had nothing to do, that weight has nothing to do with the framework that was holding it, the electrical panels, or the generator itself. I'm kind of estimating that I probably had 18,000 pounds on my trailer with the framework, generator, Cummins engine when I got done. But again, pick and pick of specs of the Cummins engine, and pick and pick again of what that house looked like before they tore it apart. But it was kind of a fiasco, and I was there. I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was supposed to have been loaded and out of there real quickly, and I never got out of that place until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But anyways, I'll bring you back for other hauls and other shop events. Okay, so I had told you that I had done some other things. What I have done is added a third battery to the back of the truck. And what I've done is connected it with 4-gauge wire. Now, why 4-gauge wire is, I'll show you. So this 4-gauge wire goes back into the truck, down through the bed bottom and then back into the truck. And what it does is it comes up underneath the seat and runs over and attaches to the back of the inverter. And why it does that is because I have 4-gauge, which was the original requirement for this inverter, from the front batteries back to the inverter. So now I've got 4-gauge going from those connections down and into the battery in the back. Now that provides both charging power for this battery and a cross connection to the front batteries with 4-gauge wire. And why I put this battery back here is because in the future I have intentions of running a winch on my trailer. So what I'm going to do is probably get aught gauge or double aught gauge cables to go from this battery back to a plug in the back, and then from a plug back to the winch on the trailer, so that the winch on the trailer will run off of this battery. Now, this is a fairly large battery, not the biggest that they make, but it's 900 cranking amps or 730 cold cranking amps on this thing. And here's the cover for the battery box. The other thing, I told you that there was a couple of things, and I don't have it, and when I get it, I will show you the installation of it, but I have bought a compressor system for the truck. Now, it's a compressor system that puts out 150 psi, like 1 CFM, has a tank with it, and what it's going to be used for is it has a remote control on it. So it's got 2 channels, a remote control, and the 2 channels can either be used to, if you had like rear airbags on your truck and front airbags, one channel can be used to operate the rear airbags, the other channel can be used to operate the front airbags, or one channel could be used to operate the right hand side, or one channel could be used to operate the left hand side. What I'm going to do with it is have one channel for both bags, so that I can inflate or deflate them to whatever pressure I have or want in the bags at the time, depending on the load of the trailer or the load in the back of the truck. And I'm thinking about getting one of those shocker hitches for the trailer gooseneck connection, and I will use that second channel to operate the pressure in the airbag on the shocker hitch, depending on how much load I have on it and how much air that I think that I require for the smoothest ride, depending on the load characteristic of the trailer, the loading of the trailer. And we'll see if that works. Help resolve that bouncy issue with the trailer going over concrete highways. That issue still hasn't been resolved. It's been turned over to the dealer, and he still hasn't gotten back to me. He wanted to talk to the factory, and I sent him all the emails between me and the factory and the video, a link to the video so that he could look at it, but that issue hasn't been resolved. So anyways, that air compressor system will also be run off of that battery. And probably that whole system will be mounted underneath the truck. That's the way it was designed, so that it could be mounted underneath the truck. But anyways, there's the battery system. If anybody wants to know something more about it, just leave a comment and I can get back to you about that. So I had just finished up that clip about the battery in the back of the truck, and I got a call and I had to do another haul. I had actually planned on posting this video yesterday instead of today, but anyways, I had to do that. I had to do something else, so I had to go to the bank, make a wire transfer for what I'm going to discuss at the end of the video. But anyways, one of the other things that battery is going to be used for, besides powering the winch on for the trailer, it's probably also going to power that air compressor unit that is being installed. But one of the other things that I do, it's very hard for truckers to find some place to spend the night. A lot of times what I'll end up doing is pulling up onto an exit ramp off of a highway, either on the exit ramp or onto the entrance ramp back onto the highway, and park there. And you'll see a lot of truckers do that because all of the truck stops are full. All of the parking areas or rest areas along highways are usually full. So you'll see that a lot. When I do that, I leave my running lights on. I leave my parking lights on, and depending on how long I sleep, that's how long the lights are left on. So, and it's kind of a trick with these trucks, because you know, new vehicles, you can't really leave the lights on. You leave the lights on the car and they turn off after a certain amount of time. So to get around that, what you have to do is leave the ignition key on the accessory mode and put the parking lights on, and they won't turn off automatically like they do normally. But anyways, it's a drain on the batteries, and even though I've got two batteries, depending on how long you're sleeping and the parking lights are left on, it's a drain on the battery. So that third battery will help in that instance too. So let me. What I'll do is I'm gonna throw a clip. I told you that I got called yesterday after I made that last clip and had to make another steel run. And I don't usually show you the steel, but this was a pretty big load. It was like 22,000 pounds of steel I-beams on my trailer. I'll put a clip over there, pick to show you the shot that I took of the steel on the back of the trailer. But But anyways, let me shut you off, and I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to discuss another haul that I had to make to Massachusetts. I told you about that generator they got. The deal fell through because the guy that was selling it, his brother had actually sold it before him, and it fell through. Well, my generator guy found another generator in Massachusetts, and I had to make a trip, and this was a little unusual because I had to borrow somebody else's trailer to be able to pick this thing up, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so I told you that I had to go to Massachusetts to pick up another generator, and I had to borrow somebody else's trailer. Well, I'm just walking out here because letting you look at something else besides my face while I'm explaining this is probably better. I had to borrow somebody else's trailer because the guy that bought this generator was told that they had no way to load it. They didn't have a forklift. It was a strange situation. They said that they owned a towing company or a salvage company, but they didn't, and they had a rollback, which I have used to load stuff onto my trailer before. Pull it up on the rollback, and then adjust the deck height of the rollback so that that you can pull it off onto my trailer. They said that they had a rollback, a brand new one, but they didn't want to scratch it up doing something like that. So what I did is borrowed a friend of mine. He has a tilt trailer. And if you don't know what a tilt trailer is, I'll put a pick and pick over there, showing you one. It's a low trailer. They're used to pull stuff up on, like man lifts and stuff like that don't have a lot of power going uphill. So usually they're low. You can tilt it so that the deck goes down against the ground, and then pull the thing up with a winch if you have to. So that's what I did. Is I borrowed this guy's tilt trailer, got underneath the generator, and the generator was sitting on blocks, and pulled it up that way. But just another example of the things that I run into hauling stuff. Sometimes, people will tell you they don't have any way of loading it. You get there and they've got like forklifts and everything else, and you're thinking, what the hell were these people thinking when they told us they didn't have a way of loading it? But anyways, I used the tilt trailer to get it up there, and it worked out just fine. But anyway, I'll bring you back, and we'll discuss the thing from the previous shop update video that I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, so I kept alluding to this last shop update and ask you guys to go back and take a look at it and what I was talking about. If any of you did, or if any of you have watched my channel and remember from it, I told you that I had visited a couple of auction yards to pick up generators at, and had seen some trucks that I might be interested in, or another truck that I might be interested in. What I had told you is that I was looking for a kind of a flatbed truck type of situation that I could do some local deliveries with. It has nothing to do with the haul truck. The haul truck is still going to be built. The haul truck is going to be used for over-the-road type of situations, hauling trailers over the road, long haul. What I'm talking about with this is a flatbed truck that is going to be used for local deliveries or short runs. So I had showed you a couple of them. I told you that I wasn't going to buy some of them because they were older style, had older style wheels on it. Well, I did join an auction site, sign up for an auction site, and I did bid on a truck and I won it. I'm going to put a pick and pick over there, one of the sides. I'll put a pick and pick and show you the truck that I won. Now that's only going to be it for this video. I'm just showing you that I won it. I have to go out to Colorado to pick it up. It's paid for. Wire transfer was done yesterday. So I've got to go out to Colorado, pick it up, but that will be for another video. But again, the haul truck and the other projects in the shop are still viable and a go situation. Now, there's things that have to be done to the truck that I bought to be able to get it operable to what I want it for. Whoever owned the truck before, they had taken off whatever was on the frame rails, so all there is frame rails and stuff. And as you can see from the picture, and I'll put another shot of that truck up there, and as you can see, so I need to make a flatbed bed for the truck. Actually, I had talked to a guy and he says, you know, I've got a truck that I'm going to get rid of and it's got one on it, so you might be interested in it. So there will be things, it's got to be registered, plated, insured. I'm assuming there's probably things that need to be done to it, maybe tires or whatever needs to be done to it to get it on the road, and that's going to be kind of a priority so that it can be used. And one of the things that we were thinking about doing is letting my grandson possibly make some small hauls or local hauls, let's say, not necessarily small, local hauls. Maybe as if I was out on the road or doing something else, he could help out with it too. So again, I'm really excited about it, and it will be part of another video, as is the air system that's going in my Dodge or in the Ram. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe, share it. Thanks for watching though, guys.